October 1st, last year. A fishing boat crowded with more than 500 men, women and children seeking a new life in Europe sets out from the Libyan coast. The crossing, like so many, will end in disaster. This time, the scale of the tragedy will be too great for us to ignore. The voyage will end with the deaths of 366 people. Tonight, what it was like to be on board as the boat went down.
ما يأدوك أفكا كم تبل ويتبل أبغى نخزن برسة بك أشاولك يتحدي تفق مالتيو.
We follow one young survivor as she crosses Europe on a clandestine immigration route. Rabbit Beach, the Italian island of Lampedusa, considered one of the Mediterranean's most idyllic holiday locations. Each year, it attracts thousands of European tourists in search of a little piece of paradise. But one night last year, this stretch of water became a scene of horror. Fanous, a teenager, was one of more than 80 women on the boat when it set out from Tripoli.
كاب نديف جميرة كسب زوجح نصبحيت نيمشت بتملس ياخد ماديو كاب أندر حميمة لعل مسود مسود أقول ولا حنت تبوق نيرو.
After a day's journey, at 4 a.m. on the 3rd of October, they are less than half a mile from Lampedusa when the engine stops. 24-year-old Solomon is traveling on the upper deck.
مبراتنا إذا دسيت رينيا كي مسرعنا يخانيو قريبنا إبنا بتي توم بقى توم تهدر اليوم وتوم ردات لي مصاب زموسنا بس بقى نعرف.
With the engine off, the boat starts taking on water. After a failed attempt to restart, the captain lights a fire to attract attention. It gets out of control. The passengers panic and rush to one side.
already handbet اتي حاوي مستبارعه متسواج واج مسبله سنبيدي تسيه already مركب وجنتي نتي بدي حريز نبر حاتين حيزه تم سايز نورخ already وخلو شتت لهم كيلو مالتي
دن دقيقة لو نوركو كم مال هجة كم حلم مسيلني بصحي تردنني قم كم زيت كم ستيك هسلنا بيت كم زيلا طيلا نبدي ويتقمت لما دي أما يسعد خوي ترديني
كم زحادة حاتين انتاي بحر رخيبة بس بدي حري بزناي تحريت بزناي قلفي سحيبه من خلطة سبات مالتي طوالتها قلفيت باتيخة سرعي واتي كله مالتي تمزلو سبات كانت سرعي حيزو ما افتح بحر تاريفه
حم بيسيكلني سكت بعلو بحيل عمله كم سخن هيكل وخمس دبل كوت يعني حيو راح حم بيسيكل.
The boat goes down. Alone in the water, the survivors try and stay afloat. The strongest attempt to reach land.
يمانا تقامنا نزنبره موتات سبات كم زنا كبر كي اخذ خيل تماراريحنا خمسة تقريبا نحمس نيرنا أجوخا نتصابنا تحقق جزنا كلاتنا بمورال بتسفينا بقى كلنا نقدر ودينا بتيحنا خطابتنا واني أزقنا هيوت حتى هيوتي سبتزلاتني تتعافيه أنت وتسخ وتس سبتزلاتني تماويته أنت حرمويته خا مويته مالتي.
At 6 a.m., 2 hours after the sinking, a group of friends are returning from a fishing trip.
Quando poi ho visto che chiaramente qualche braccio alzavano, sbracciavano da lontano, ho detto guarda che vi sono delle persone in acqua. Quindi ci siamo avvicinati a queste persone. Man mano che andavamo fuori ci rendevamo conto che in pratica in un raggio di 180 gradi c'erano tutte persone in acqua. Orientativamente potevano essere 150-180 persone. Anche abbiamo iniziato a tirare quelli più vicini. Il fatto di non aver potuto salvare tutti quanti per noi è stata una cosa, il dramma è stato quello per noi.
Soon after, another fishing boat joins the rescue.
Che già erano 3 ore che erano in mare, noi erano gli ultimi secondi di vita per loro. E tutto il corpo erano nudi, tutti nudi, e avevano tutte le braccia tutte piene di gasolio e tiravamo su a fatica perché loro ci scivolavano, allora ogni tanto ne mettevamo una su, con fatica perché abbiamo messo qui quella morta, una morta. Io ci ho fatto un po' per far buttare un po' d'acqua, ma era morta già da un po' di tempo, già era morta da 5-10 minuti. Una cosa spaventosa.
By the time the Coast Guard arrives, the fishing boats are full of people. Vanus has been in the water for 4 hours.
I'm so sorry, Snowberry. مجمرة مسرائيني قومان كم زيارة إيري قد سير النار كلنا بزيت حيلان يا إيري ترى كم سكبر سلازنا ماركو مسرائيني قومان ناي محبس اليوم لي أتيها محبس محزام سانكوشو بعلتي ستي وانا مركب حننا ماجو نسونا تيرو حفبيرو مركب سايل.
Vanus and the other survivors are taken to the island's tiny hospital. A local camera crew film her exhausted and waiting for treatment. Of the 80 women on board, 17-year-old Vanus is one of only 5 to survive.
ቤተሰብ አይኖረንም ማስተያየን ይረናል ክልተ ኤደን ቀሳነት እቴ አንተ ቀሳነት አጣይኔራ እቴ አንተ ዳላላ ካብ ንዲብ نبدأ مركب كم ندي في راهوان يتراهمنا نيرنا تي عن تكن مسيني رفت كوربيتي إيدني لعادي تياس أي راهوان أنا همان أي تراهمنا نقليلاتني تي عن تكن نبدأ نيرات عن أي راهوان تقال إلا خاب نديبنا مركب.
Simone, a local diver, helps in the rescue effort. By the time he gets to the scene, there's no one left to rescue.
Appena all'uscita dal porto abbiamo incrociato la prima barca che purtroppo non ho potuto salvare nessuno perché c'erano solo cadaveri, solo corpi.
Simone then has to dive to the wreck.
Di questi corpi sono proprio, mi ricordo molto nitidamente, 2 o 3 coppie abbracciate, come se avessero voluto insomma, lasciare questa vita insieme, no? Quindi l'ultima cosa che fai, si erano abbracciate, è terribile, è veramente terribile.
With 366 dead in the sea, the retrieval of bodies becomes a major operation. Within days, the Italian government decide they should be moved off the island. Relatives have come to Lampedusa, and many of the survivors themselves have lost friends and family.
La bara del bambino.
No one under the age of 12 survived. The coffins are soon buried in cemeteries around Sicily, over 100 miles away. Two weeks after the tragedy, a state funeral is staged. The survivors have been denied permission to attend and are housed in an overcrowded immigration reception centre back on the island of Lampedusa. Their exclusion sparks a protest.
Our 364 brothers died in the sea.
They say that we have a shortage of transportation, a shortage of something, they said, but we are not satisfied by their answer.
The survivors hold their own alternative memorial service.
Some people lost 3 kids, some people lost 2 brothers, and so they feel, it's insulting. I'm angry, and I understand their anger, because if there is someone that needs closure, it's these people, and they were denied that.
Meron, an Eritrean activist, has come from Sweden to help the survivors. Working with refugees from one of Africa's most repressive regimes, this tragedy is all too familiar.
It's been happening every year as long as I can remember. In 2005, 2006, 2007, we hear all kind of news that this many Eritreans have died in the Mediterranean Sea. You know, some people tell you, our life is like playing cards. When you are gambling, you have the last card, you don't just quit. You try to gamble with it. Either 50% of chance that you might make it, 50% that you might die. And to them, their lives is in their hands, the last card they have.
In Sicily, other Eritreans have been arriving from around Europe. Relatives have come to identify bodies from police photographs. Bethlehem, from Germany, has lost her niece. 23-year-old Jordanis was planning to join her aunt in Europe.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can see her. It's pretty, it's very smart really, and she was very, very kind as well. At least I can tell to her mom that I identify her daughter. I feel very sorrow. I feel very sad. But I can't change it. It's over anyway.
Bethlehem has been given the address of the cemetery where Jordanis has been buried.
Praise God.
Like all those on the boat, Jordanis belongs to a generation that's been fleeing Eritrea. Since winning its independence 20 years ago, the East African state has been descending into military dictatorship. Every young person is conscripted, and military service is often extended indefinitely, depriving the young of any choice over their future. For an Eritrean, there is little freedom of movement across Africa. In trying to make it to the North African coast, Fanous and her fellow travelers are forced to use a people smuggling route. It's dangerous, expensive, and often exposes them to brutality.
وشمال مسجبرنا أبني لبيا بوتا مسبت إحنا نجت زبالو بوتا هي الشو يومنا أب جوبو أفت جوبو تسجينا هلا أنتي مودات جرام أسيرو إنه تحت زمان نقلقلو بفعلت بزيك وما كرما جار مميرو أنا غاني إنه كجاس سنة قلم شحتنا مسابنا يو بنزين دفعلنا غاد كترنا إحنا مسابنا هاد تملي سكيرو أنتي مودات بيت راك تدري كم زي موت اللهم تفع لهم اسبالكم زي شيء طلق حمد العارحهم سلسلة 400 كفيلهم لي.
So far, Fanous has paid a high price for her chance of European citizenship. Now, she's about to make an illegal journey through Europe.
In 2002, acclaimed film director Richard Linklater cast a 6-year-old boy. Over the next 12 years, they made film history.
With the new download feature on 4OD.
It's December, 2 months after the tragedy in the Mediterranean that resulted in the deaths of 366 people. Almost all of the survivors have been moved off the island of Lampedusa by the Italian authorities, but Fanous and 7 others are still stuck here.
بركس أب جزان يرناق جزان أبزن مت أبزن ماليس نارينا ينهيد مشت كومو دكاسي أبين قلا بهر كوم تات مكان ده ما ينزل لنا بسي.
Fanous isn't being held here in connection with the sinking. It's to do with the kidnap she suffered while crossing the desert to Libya. One of the men she says abducted her amazingly has turned up on the island from another crossing.
أبزل قليلو من ريايو شو مسراهو أو بخيه مسراهو مسراهو نير كليهم مسوام قليلو من أو نيرا قليلو نعبالي قليلو من كيدا تيوم بولايس شو تسوي عمنا مسأسرون مسحزون إلهم تسوي عمنا كيدا نتاجركم قليلو من كم خمس قبرنا نيرو.
He's arrested and flown to Sicily to await trial. Fanous will stay in Lampedusa until called to give evidence.
يسرع والد مالتي كلن 10 ساعات والد بحر التعيلة مركز إذن زي مسكر كلها مؤمنين مسكري حوادنا كلهم بصع مع بحر التعيلة مزلوا.
With the weather turning, we help Fanous out with some warm clothes.
Hello. Hi Fanous Shukor. كم غيب؟ نحن ده؟ قرر مش برتعه؟ جاكيت على كده؟
Since she came to the island in the days after the tragedy, Maron has been in regular contact with Fanous.
She's amazing. I mean, how strong she is. I feel that, I want to take care of her. So everybody, whoever is near her, have this sense of want to protect her and you want her to stay as innocent as she is, I'm worried for her, actually, because still she have a lot of issues that she have to work on, being tortured. She's having a hard time falling asleep. She told me that she still dreams about the people that died in Lampedusa.
Once Fanous is finally allowed off the island, she's determined not to remain in Italy.
Canada كبزت إلى شودة.
Sweden is a favoured destination for many of the survivors.
ما نبرأ ودوسنا لك بايتايلن. هذا خم لك تمرت خدمة تخنيها. سرح البهادي بالكان توساخي أنا مزي دقات أماني سقطين سترسن دلني تبوتات اللي تقبلكو نخنبر ليه.
Hannibal, who travelled with Fanous on the boat, is one of the first to make it here.
بحتى يروسي إنتي نقطف كان مقبل تقول لهم قطفهم لقبولها مسألك حلوي توساخاني تدلخ أنا قرأت بحتى جيزة المال لك. أو تخيل بك أخرين اللي نتعدي never مطلق هنا ولا أخرين اللي نتعدي.
Under EU law, refugees must claim asylum in the first European country they enter, so Hannibal has had to travel from Italy to Sweden illegally.
بحتى روسي كاب روما مالتني ميلانو مسكركا أم ميلانو أبزي مسمسرتي خطأت مالتي أبسمسرت مساعد خامسهم أبجزون كفبلخا بدحريو شعاتي 100 يورو تخفل شحال متر مس كفلكا مالتي باسبورت فالسو غيرهم يفتنوها مالتي عند الكاتري ويتتحز ويكاتاتو مالتي.
If Fanus is to reach Sweden, she must avoid being registered as an asylum seeker in Italy. If the authorities take her fingerprints and she tries to claim asylum elsewhere, she will immediately be sent back to Italy. She has resorted to drastic measures to make sure this can't happen.
أو أي أقل جينا هيك يتقاتل بحجة قاتل. لايتر جيرة ها فيستال قليلة قوما مالتي قوما نديدة كم زجيرة أنتيبا كم زجيرة الجيبة.
Mid-January, 5 weeks later, Fanus is finally moved off Lampedusa. She and 5 other survivors have been brought to Sicily, where she has testified against her alleged kidnapper. She's been allowed to give evidence ahead of the trial, which won't be for several months. Afterwards, they are moved to a new immigration center. Within hours, they make a break for freedom to start their journey out of Italy. A relative of one of the survivors meets them en route and buys them bus tickets to Rome. This is the first leg of what will become an illegal flight from the country. After a 15-hour journey, she is met off the bus by a man who tells us to stop filming. She and the other survivors are then taken away on a local bus. We speak to Fanus later that day on the phone. She gives us the address of where she's been taken, an abandoned tenement block on the outskirts of Rome. When we arrive, she is uncomfortable about being filmed. To get to Stockholm, she must pay $850 for a false passport and an airline ticket. She's now waiting for her family in Eritrea to send her money. Two weeks later, Fanus tells us she has arrived in Stockholm. All but 2 of the 155 survivors of the disaster have left Italy. Most are seeking asylum in Sweden or Norway, a handful in Germany. As she prepares to claim asylum in Sweden, Fanus is staying with Moran.
وأنا دحين تبغي صار يا دام طعم حما وخلنا نزغنا من سير كاس أيتم النيل لنا هابط نادم الأناس نزغنا سبك ما تجلس أيتم النيل لنا هابط بابا مصعنا حق صرناكم تمالي ساعات حاسبه الله هذا يحرقك.
Fanous is on her way to claim asylum. Many survivors have not told the authorities the truth about how they arrived in Northern Europe.
They are afraid if they tell their stories, then there is a risk that they might be sent back to Italy. So for that reason, people choose not to mention that they survived both tragedies.
Fanous has decided to take her chances. There is no way for refugees to seek asylum from EU countries before they travel to Europe. And for Moron, this is part of the problem.
It's a joke, the European system at times, because we all know that over 90% of Eritreans who came and ask for asylum receives asylum. So it has become like, we'll give you asylum as long as you manage to overcome the hardship on the road to get here. When you know that you are going to give them asylum anyway, why let them go through all that hardship?
As we approach summer, the crossings are starting again, and migrants are arriving on Lampedusa. They are the lucky ones. This year, hundreds more will die in the Mediterranean.
Circling up the